Hey, beautiful humans. It's me, LC, your transgender mentor, and welcome to another Sunday Night Soul Sessions with my good friend and co host, Miss Pamela Topjian, the creator of Breakthrough Hypnotherapy. Tonight, we're going to talk about quite a few things that are very relevant in my own life, and we're going to talk about some different things that we can reach out to our cisgendered co-host Pamela for her advice on as well, being she has a medical background. And so tonight's going to be filled with a bunch of different things, but it's going to focus around basically how much your mental health matters. You know, right now, trans healthcare is a very controversial subject, but we as transgender human beings deserve proper health care. And it's a specialized health care. And we have to learn how to become our own allies and take charge of our physical and mental health. Along with that, we are going to talk about the emotional transition. A lot of the side effects that come along with, testosterone and transitioning and how your mental health actually changes as well as the structure of your brain. Yes, that's right. You're going to get some secrets on male and female differences right here tonight because the brain is actually structured different. Ladies, I hate to break it to you, but your men just don't think like you do, and it's all right. So, look, how do we become more human in humanity as we learn to understand one another? So, these are going to be some of the things we talk about tonight in this episode 14 of the Transgender Mentor podcast. If you're on our YouTube channel, please make sure that you like the video, subscribe, and if you feel led, make sure you share us out. We're trying to grow a platform so that we can talk about some things that are not always being talked about in the world right now. If you type in transgender in any one of the search bars anywhere, mostly what you're going to find are timeline photos and where to find testosterone or estrogen. But the fact is we're human beings going through real human life. And on top of our regular lives of working and living and family, we're also doing a great deal of our internal shadow work externally for the world to see. So we got to do what's necessary and right for us as human beings. The trans is just one part. The biggest part of us all are human. And that's what we have to learn to see in one another. So make sure that you help us grow this platform, help us get the message out, and think about becoming a supporter of our podcast. It's over on anchor.fm/transgender mentor. Well, I am certainly excited to get into this week's episode of the Transgender Mentor podcast. I know Pamela is. So if you all are ready to go, let's get going. Pamela Topjian, welcome.
Hello, hello.
I'm so happy to be back here sitting in this seat with you. I'm so grateful to
Yes,
be here, as
me too.
always.
Me too. Thank you.
So, tonight, I have this great quote that I want to start out with. I want to hear what you think about this because we have a little bit of subject matter to talk about. It says, people have genitals, but people are not their genitals. Now, before we came on live, we were talking about how much research still needs to be done in the area of intersexed children, um, which I was intersexed as a child, but in 1974, we didn't find that out because my genitalia was not so disformed or so drastically different that it was a big deal. But in 2001, I was telling you that I had a surgery where they
Mhm.
tested all that genetics and such and found out that a lot of what I thought was just being weird, different, and trans was actually something that happened in the womb before I ever arrived. So, you have a medical background.
Hmm.
What do you know about intersex children and how the medical society deals with that?
Well, I do have an experience that I wanted to share working. Now, I worked in Alzheimer's and pediatrics and for a short time in detox and recovery. And so I didn't work with any adults that were transgender. Um, there were a few um, adults of the LGBTQ community that I had worked with, but that's doesn't have really anything to do with this.
Right.
So I had a baby that was in our unit, and so it wasn't really under my care. It was a few people. It wasn't just
Mhm.
one on one. And this baby was, I would say, intersexed,
Mhm.
or um, they had both genitalia. And what was interesting to me is on the medical forms, these are the doctors that write these forms, the care plan and what everything that's going on with their patients. There was no term for it. Male and female were both checked, and there was no term for, they used to, I don't even know, and I'm ashamed to say I don't even know, but there's a term hermaphrodite, which I'm not sure
Right.
exactly what that
Mhm.
means. And we, the nurses and the caretakers would say that they're both, because that's kind of what was checked by the doctors.
Mhm.
This is not a male or a female. This is a baby that, has a vagina and has a penis, and it did not have testes.
Mhm.
I shouldn't have said it. They did not, so everything was inside. Now, I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I don't think that they did any sort of ultrasound. And this was about 2008. And I don't
That's
think
still
that they
pretty
did any.
progressive.
Yeah. And so I don't think that they did any ultrasound, or I don't think they even did any kind of testing of the chromosomes, which is
Mhm.
really interesting. And I really wonder, and we were talking about this to find out kind of where this has gone as far as testing people or testing
Yeah.
babies, even regardless of what anything looks like on the outside, to test, what those chromosomes say, or where their levels are.
Yeah, I mean, I have heard, and in just doing a little bit, so I've just started my research about this. I did a little when I found out for myself back in
Hmm.
2002.
Hmm.
Um, and I did some research then, but it wasn't much into computer, so everything was,
Yeah.
just paper and book.
Yeah.
But I have just
That's a
begun
long time
to
ago, all right, already
along,
too.
I know,
Yeah.
right? I
Mhm.
know. So
Sorry.
I just started to do this, I'm just getting back into really diving into it because I'm very
Mhm.
intrigued. Because most of the research that I had found were in certain days, and I guess in 1974 when I was born, there had I presented
Mhm.
with a more jumbled up genitalia in
Right.
that area, they would have made a decision.
Right.
And because the stories that, come out of this, and there has not been one that I have been able to find, been one successful decision made by a doctor amongst parents when a child is very just born that has
Right.
worked out in that favor.
Right.
Um, in fact, there was a doctor, scientist doctor,
Mhm.
who decided, and we still actually are in practice of these standards to this day when it comes to
Just going by
intersex
sight.
children,
Yeah.
going by sight and then making the decision. This doctor's, I guess, theory is that gender is nurture versus nature.
Right.
And there was this one patient that, he based all of this information upon, and that patient ended up taking their own life
Yeah.
ultimately.
I've heard of that
Um,
one. I know this story. Yeah.
right. So And also ended up transitioning from
Mhm.
that chosen gender
Mhm.
at a certain point, and got married, and really just could not make a life of this, had been scarred
Right.
so
It had
much.
ruined their whole life, yeah.
Absolutely. And when we begin to make decisions for children, I think that's the danger
Mhm.
in our society's desperation to have such an understanding, and the refusal to open our minds or expand our
Yeah.
our minds to not draw our conclusions about everything and every person based on their gender. That's a box that locks
Mhm.
someone into a definition, and when they don't fit, what happens is, as you know and I know personally, is then we get caught in this loop of shame that involves these stories that we begin to tell ourselves. I'm
Yeah.
weird. I'm strange. Something's wrong with me, not the box. Something's wrong with me. And I
Right.
think we've got to continue to bring the information out that no, the box is the
Right.
problem. And I commend the non-binary population
Yeah.
and community for bringing that very interesting and very scary idea to this human population that, hey,
Mm.
I'm neither male nor female. I'm a human.
Right, and
And
that is a
I
social
love it.
construct that people, can't a lot of people can it's not easy to wrap your
It's not.
mind around that, but if you really pay attention, without judgment, without your preconceived ideas that you grew up with,
Right?
and it's all around you
Yeah.
24/7, if you really sort of look at it philosophically, it's so true. It really is true. It's a social construct.
Yeah.
And that's what the non-binary people are showing us and inviting us to take a
Yes.
look at. And
I
I
love
think that
that.
it would be helpful for everybody to take a look at that. And it does not mean that I can't wear a dress if I don't want to, or it doesn't mean that you can't look and do what feels right and true and good for you, regardless if it's um you know more acceptably male or female, usual kind of dress or behaviors or anything.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean that, and I think that a lot of people get confused with that. Well, I like being a girl, women will say, or men will say, I'm not going to wear a dress, just so it's just really, it's very confusing for people, and that's understandable too, but
Sure.
you have to open your mind and really listen to some of these people that are really showing us, just like you said, so openly and so amazingly well. So many non-binary people are so amazingly
Yeah.
well teaching the world if people would just listen. And there are
Yeah.
some that are a little, I know, that are a little more, let's say, flamboyant, a little more out there in the way of just being a presence,
Yeah.
which that, there are, complete cis males and complete cis females that are like that as well. So if
Every day.
you,
Yeah.
yeah, so if you go ahead and, if you try to look up a few people that are out there on social media or on YouTube that are non-binary, if that doesn't really sit well with you, there are so many others, you know,
Well,
that are,
yeah.
yeah. And
Well,
we
and then
we know
ask
of a few
yourself
of
as
them that
well.
are awesome, just
We
awesome,
do.
teachers really.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's
Well,
just so amazing.
I love what you said, that they are inviting us. And that's the beautiful way to look at the
Yeah.
entire process. We have such an issue when things don't check the boxes in our mind of what we understand. We just shut them down, and we
Yeah.
forget that these human beings are
Mhm.
gifts to all of us, for the expansion of all of us to grow outside of ourselves,
Yeah. It's
because
amazing what they're doing.
it is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We know how dangerous toxic masculinity is.
Mm,
We know how dangerous that toxic femininity is. I don't
that's
think we
right.
know how dangerous it is, but we are going to begin to know,
Mhm.
because anything you lock into one definition has
Mhm.
nowhere to grow. It has
Right.
nowhere to go. And that causes so much suffering.
Right.
And what we are blaming human beings for, all we're basically blaming them for is being true to themselves,
Right.
being authentic, and walking in the designed purpose that they were sent here to walk in. So, as we resist that, believe me, it will
Mhm.
persist and it will
Right.
get larger and larger and larger. When we learn to see things different than ourselves as a gift,
Mhm.
then we are taking up that invitation. We are accepting that invitation to be inspired and to grow within ourselves and to outwardly within ourselves. And I love that conversation. And we are working on having some non-binary guests on the show.
Mhm.
In fact, it leads me into some of the topic we want to talk about this week about, taking charge of your
Right.
trans health care, especially your mental health
Mhm.
care. And I, as well, will readily admit that my mind as a trans human being is still fixed in the boxes.
Yeah.
So I am taking on going to a new counselor, someone who specializes in more gender and mental health issues and that identifies more with, I guess, the process that I'm moving towards versus just seeing a general counselor for my recovery and trauma
Right.
processes. I'm now seeing someone else that is very, specialized.
Yeah.
And I chose them because they too are non binary and because that is something that I'm struggling to truly
Mhm.
grasp. But I'm so excited to do that. We
Mhm.
have to push ourselves out, of the box to truly
Yeah.
understand it. Um, and I'm really excited about that. So,
So
Pamela, oh, go ahead.
I
Go
was
ahead.
just going to ask you, if you don't mind me asking you, sort of a personal question.
Sure.
Are you wondering now, sort of, if maybe you're fitting more in the non-binary than the transgender, label?
It's a
Are you
beautiful
wondering
question.
about that?
I am, I am actually, and my wife asked me this amazing question just the other day. We were talking about, I have been having some issues, some health issues,
Right.
probably some stress, which all lends itself to mental health issues.
Mhm.
And I have felt like my hormone balance is off.
Yeah.
Um, and my wife asked me the question if I felt like I was more in touch with my feminine side
Mhm.
now than I've ever been.
Mm.
And it makes me think of the question that you just asked, and I will say I believe I am feeling more non-binary at this point
Mhm.
than I felt like I was going to be just straight male.
Right.
Because finding out that I myself am intersex, which means that I have an overproduction of male hormones and always have. My
Mhm.
genitalia is a bit different, not to get too personal, but it is a
Mhm.
bit different. Um, and and coming to the place of trying to shatter the shame that told me that there was something wrong with me because I didn't fit in
Mhm.
the boxes. I never felt safe to visit that my feminine side, which we
Mhm.
all have, masculine, feminine. We're
Right.
all a mix of both.
Absolutely.
Um, and as I told my wife, with me feeling more at home with who I see in a mirror, it
Mhm.
gives me a safer space
Mhm.
to identify. It also falls into one of the some of those things where you don't know how to appreciate something until it's gone, so to speak,
Mhm.
as well, about some of the more feminine aspects that
Right.
I have lost in the transition because the structures change.
Right.
But I am not feeling these days that I simply check that mailbox and there's no other question.
Mhm.
And so I am very interested in visiting more in the
Right.
non-binary.
And with your
Um,
counseling, that should be
yeah,
a good place that you can do that with, with
absolutely.
somebody else that really understands rather than just
Yeah,
checking in within yourself.
true. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I've been really practicing the they and them pronouns,
Yes.
they're everything
I'm
new is
trying
hard
as
for us
well.
to do. And I think with earnest hearts, in trying, it's much different than when you're just trying to be mean or disrespectful to
Yeah.
somebody, so I'm
It's
really
just a
looking forward
habit
to
kind of a
expansion.
thing. You're just
It
so
is.
used to. Yeah.
It is, and I think there's a lot more grace out there when people are coming with, true
Mhm.
hearts and greater hearts, and so I'm excited to take this active role in my mental health. Um, I'm
Yeah.
also I'm also very I'm very I am concrete on also taking a greater active role in my physical health. You know,
Mhm.
I think a lot of the inability to do that comes from being an inactive addiction, and
Yeah.
especially when you've had an active addiction to, pharmaceuticals,
Mhm.
not illegal, but legal, doctor
Mhm.
prescribed. There's so much of that, you kind of shy away from going to the doctor or speaking up
Yeah.
for yourself. That's we could take that apart many different ways.
I know. I think didn't you talk about that in the walk a mile about, they're treating you, how they're treating
Yeah.
anybody that's in recovery or
Right.
has ever been in recovery.
Yes.
Ever.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
was it in that one or was it here that you were talking about it? I don't know, but
There's
you
no telling.
because you were talking about, you
Yeah,
know,
there's no telling. I'm
yeah,
an advocate
having
for that a lot because it happens a lot, and I
yes,
I
yes.
spend some of my speaking career in with new doctors and nurses, coming
Mm,
out of medical school. I've gotten the opportunity to speak there a few
so
times and
awesome.
just
Yeah.
trying to help them understand how not only to spot almost pre-addiction in a way without judging and
Mhm.
just kind of getting, being
Yeah.
prepared
Judging
and
and
how to spot
shaming
it.
because there's a lot of shaming and
Oh gosh, yes.
yeah.
Yes, for sure, and a shame loop, as you know and I know, shame loops harm everybody.
Mhm.
Everybody, regardless of what you're being
And
shamed
it's
about.
long term, long lasting,
Yes,
lifetime even, and yeah,
absolutely, and we'll be
for
breaking
sure.
those things and trying to find them for, years and years and years to
Yeah.
come. It's a constant battle. So, I think that it's important for especially transhumans right now to really take an active role in their healthcare. We
Yes.
can't always just trust, a medical professional because they say
Right.
they are, um, with our transition. I've gone
Right.
through some things lately where I'm not feeling right, like physically,
Mhm.
and physical turns into mental.
Mhm.
And for anybody, not just transhumans, and you'll identify with this too, Pam, our hormones affect so much of
Mhm.
our body chemistry, our output, our intake, our
Yeah.
attitudes, and, you know, that has a lot to do with a lot of things.
Yeah.
Even people in coming from active addiction into recovery, their hormones are whacked out,
Sure. Sure.
and
Yeah.
it's going kinda crazy, and you have to really start to understand and do your research on how much those
Mhm.
things affect you. But if
Yeah.
somebody's not listening to you, if your health professional is not listening to you, keep coming back there and don't
Right.
just buy it because they're selling it. We in the addictive community have gotten ourselves in quite a bit of trouble for just
Yeah.
buying it because they're selling it.
Right.
And then what
Right.
happens? You were in the medical field, Pam. We've talked about that. I mean,
Mhm.
what advice do you have on that area?
Well, I've always told people that, the doctors will, they see what you're coming in for and they, they have like a checklist and they have it in their mind. They've done it a million times and they're just going to go through it with you. If you don't get the answers that you want, stay there. And they are working for you. Make sure you go in there with a list of the answers you want. And if they
Mm,
don't have them for you, ask them, where can I get these answers then?
amazing.
Even if they give you an answer and you're not satisfied with it, don't just think, oh, well, so many people, either are intimidated or they just feel like, like you said, they feel like, oh, well, this is what they said. They're the doctor, they know. But if you're not satisfied with it, they are working for you. Don't let them give you a 10-minute workover and after you've sat in after you sat in the waiting room for an hour. Although that doesn't really matter, but I mean, it's just something that I'll say. So, but but make them give you the information you want, and they know you can all and don't threaten the doctor, because that's not what I'm talking about, but they know that you can go see somebody else and you don't have to be their patient. And it definitely, this is another thing I always tell people about their own health care and mental health care, is it takes a lot of patience and diligence to get the right fit for you, the right
Yeah,
doctors, the right therapists, the right kinds of treatment. And you really have to have a good rapport and somebody that you feel completely safe with, somebody that you
yeah,
feel completely, that you have like a connection with, that you can just talk to like a friend. If you're going in there and you don't feel like you can tell your doctor certain things, you need a different doctor.
yeah,
Or
for
you
sure.
can discuss that with them. You can say, I'm not real confident that I can tell you everything that I need to tell you for my best care, and
Yeah,
see what they say. Just be honest with them. Don't be intimidated and don't let them bully you. Now that's easier said than done, but they just really, they're so busy, and they go by what is usual for them. Like they say, you know, 90% of my patients with this symptom do really well with this kind of med or this kind of treatment. So this is what I'm doing for you. This is what I'm checking off for you. Well, that might not be you. That might not be, like you said, the box that you fit in. And if you
yeah,
know that, don't just say to yourself, well, I know that doesn't work for me, but whatever. Okay. He must know or she must
right.
know. But, you know, it's takes a lot of patience and diligence, and it takes speaking up for yourself. And they're just trying to be efficient and trying to work with what they know, and what they
Yeah,
know works for most people. And like, I was it's good that you said, you're trying a different counselor that is non-binary
mhm,
themselves. And if you feel like you can find some therapy or counseling or some sort of treatment, or a doctor that specializes in your specific issues, that's always going to be better. Now I know that insurance is also a huge problem, and it's really a terrible thing in this country. And
yep.
I can talk on that forever, but I won't. One of the many reasons that I left the medical field. But yeah, so just patience, diligence, know that they are working for you. Don't leave without your answers, or other places to get your answers.
Yeah, and make a plan. I mean, I've made a plan with
Yes.
my healthcare here, while I don't feel necessarily like the doctor has given me the answer that
Mhm.
I really feel like, is the answer.
Mhm.
But what I'm willing to do is begin to build, I don't wanna say build a case, so to speak, but in all honesty, to build a
Mhm.
case for myself, because I'm gonna say, "Okay, well, I'm gonna try to do things this way that you
Mhm.
said, but I'm going to, in the meantime, I'm gonna give it everything I have because I did this in
Mhm.
recovery. I may not agree with what you're telling me to do, but the point is I'm here to be healthy. So I'm
Mhm.
going to be humble and realize that I don't know everything. So I'm gonna do
Yeah.
things the way you're guiding me to, but at the same time, I'm gonna do some extra research
Yeah.
on
And that's real
these.
good too. Yeah. Do
Yeah,
your
and
own
then
research.
yeah, and then also, like, as I'm trying these things, if they help, they help. I'm not ever out to be right. That's not
Mhm.
my whole point
No,
because right
no.
can kill you. But I
Mhm.
am trying to be the healthiest me that I can possibly be.
Mhm.
And, for people in transition, there is a certain amount of changes that we should be seeing,
Mhm.
experiencing, and feeling as well. And because at a certain point where even the least of those things aren't happening, that starts to weigh on your mental health. I mean, we
Mhm.
have to we have to remember that people who are actually stepping into transition are generally people that have felt alien within themselves for a
Mhm.
very long time, for probably more than half of their existence on Earth.
Yeah.
So, yes, there is this tendency to be very impatient in the beginning,
Mhm.
but that's not what I'm talking about here. And you can tell the difference. Are you brand new to transitioning and you're just eager
Mhm.
to start seeing yourself morph into this person of your
Right.
dream? Um, But, that can be dangerous too because there
Right.
are a lot of HRT doctors that are just out there to give you the results that you want fast, and there needs to be a happy medium, and I
Mhm.
believe the way you accomplish that happy medium is by doing the research yourself. What
Yeah.
is a safe level of hormones for a person of your age? For me,
Right.
at my age, when I started transitioning, physically through hormones, I was 44 years old. Now, to all of a sudden now become a male of
Mhm.
44, basically you shave what they say is you shave about 10 years off your life
Mhm.
because a 44-year-old man versus a 44-year-old female have many
Mhm.
different health issues. So my doctor, the original doctor, was very conscientious of this.
Mhm.
And we made a plan together to go a bit slower for
Mhm.
the health aspect, to
Yeah.
keep me healthy and
Yeah.
here for as, much longer.
Mhm.
And I'm okay with that.
Mhm.
And but it still takes doing your research for
Yeah.
what seems to be a healthy, average of a level of your estrogen, your testosterone, whatever it is that you're
Yeah.
taking. What is a healthy level for a person of your age, height, weight, and all of that stuff?
Yeah.
You need to know that. And
Yeah.
and also one of the things that I think is very helpful that I wish I would have done much earlier on is to begin to take small journal notes about
Mhm.
what you're experiencing.
Yeah. Definitely.
Hormones have many different side effects. For I can't speak for estrogen, but I can
Mhm.
speak for testosterone. And for testosterone, of course, the increased agitation. You're very short with people. You feel very easily agitated. You feel kind of on edge. It comes with a headache. It
Mhm.
comes with, some different heart palpitations, some
Mhm.
different blood pressure issues. The way you eat will be
Mhm.
different. And so, therefore, your blood sugar is going to be different and you're going to
Mhm.
feel different ways. Um, and then, like Pam and I were talking about something I learned this week, because I've always been a writer and a
Mhm.
speaker the past
Mhm.
8 years of my life. I started thinking I was losing the ability to structure sentences in a way that made me happy. And I started thinking, what's happening to me? What's wrong? And I was very grateful to learn that, of course, testosterone changes the structure of the brain. So, as I said in the beginning, if there are any cisgendered heterosexual women here in the audience today, I'm your buddy because I'm gonna let you know your husband's not faking it. He's not listening. Complete reticular activating system happening.
Oh
Um,
my gosh, my husband is like, I don't know if he's watching now, but
I'm helping you out, Chip.
yeah.
Many things change. I always said I could do a whole stand-up routine on the differences truly between men and women.
Yeah.
Bust
Well,
all
there's
the myths.
that one book, the men are from Mars and the women are from Venus kind of thing, that came out when,
True.
in the 70s or the 80s or something?
Yeah, I
That
think
came
it was
out a
yeah,
long
I
time
read it in
ago.
the '90s, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
It's
it's
still, I
true.
think, a bestseller because people are looking for
It's
what
true.
are those different what's going on
What
with my wife or my
wrong?
husband or Yeah,
It's crazy the differences that happen, but I was
yeah.
really just it helped me to learn that, the area that it really affects is the areas of speech, the areas of conversation, the
Just how it
areas
all
of
works in there.
yeah, of vocabulary.
Self-talk, yeah.
Yeah, so it's really awesome whenever you start to take an active role in things that are happening versus just allowing the old depression monster to jump on you and say, it's really,
I just
really
heard Chip
so
yell something in the background.
I got you, Chip.
Yeah,
It's
he
funny.
I
I'll
tell
say
him,
this
I appreciate you pretending to listen.
and it's hard to pretend. It's really hard to
He does it
pretend.
well. Yeah, we're
He's
older, so.
Oh, I love it.
I
There were so
appreciate the
many
effort.
things. Oh, there were so many things. I mean, even all the way down to the cleanliness of the bathroom. It was funny how different details look different, and all of a sudden I could understand my son's inability to get
Mm.
all of his little whiskers off of the sink. You don't see them. It's
The
it's
eyesight
it's
is
pretty
different.
the eyesight is different.
Yeah.
Whiskers are camouflage, and so, ladies, let up.
Ah,
Let up a little. They can't see it. But we're having a lot of fun, but it's really, really, really just be an active part of your
yes.
healthcare, like
Yes.
anyway. And for trans humans right now, healthcare is a big controversial subject. And, do we get it? Do we not? I mean, we can't deny it's a specialized healthcare.
Right.
It just is. It
I
is.
think more and more will come up to where there's these specialties. More and more will come because obviously, you know, this is all coming up more, because of social media and just the internet in general.
Mhm.
And, there's more and more social media all the time. So, I mean, there's
Yeah,
some amazing accounts on TikTok of non-binary people. And
absolutely.
I would really like to, and I think I did it once on Transgender Mentor Facebook page and our private group. I put up some of
Yes.
those some of those account names if anybody, that were really educational and
Yeah.
not just, accounts, but the ones that were really educational and informative for people to understand what's going on and to understand what this all means. But I'll do that again, I think, because I
Thank
really
you.
think that people need to learn. I mean, that's what we're doing here is
Yeah.
people in general, everybody, no matter, needs to learn more about all of this because, you know, people in the LGBTQ plus community have been around forever. And we always say this, but it's not a phase. It's not going away. It's not anything that's new at all. And, we just be more open to learning about everything.
I mean, we can
Fellow
either do
man.
that. Yeah, I mean, we can either do that or continue to suffer. And really the when we walk in hate and fear, the real
Right.
person that's suffering is the person who's, harnessing the hate and the fear. And if
Hmm.
we think back over time, hate and fear has not stopped anything. It may have
Right.
slowed down little things, but I mean, civil rights,
Well, it's put things in
abolishing slavery,
hiding. It's shoved things
it
under the
has,
rug and
it
in
has.
hiding, which, causes a lot of other issues then,
It really does,
and
it really
it keeps
does.
people just like recovery. It keeps people from going to the doctor. It keeps people from
It
getting
does,
jobs and taking care of their own lives and their families'
it
lives. And
does.
it just causes so many other problems. It just really radiates out.
It really does, and at the same time, it's not going anywhere, so it's almost
Right.
like, Pamela, you and I talk a whole lot because we kind of live and dwell within a very spiritually open space where, we have the ability through our history and our own healing to look at almost basically all things
Mhm.
as gifts, and
Yeah.
even when they don't feel like, our
Right.
true definition of gifts,
Right.
they turn out to be. And I continuously have this opinion about, all that's happening right now. It's happening for a bigger reason,
Oh,
a
I totally
reason in
agree. Yeah.
which we don't necessarily have the answer or deserve to have the answer yet, because we're obviously
Not
still
ready.
resisting connecting with one another and loving one another. We're not ready for
Right.
the answer. And so, I think for us to continue to broaden, our own expansion and
Evolve. Yeah.
yes, and bring in human beings closer and
Mhm.
closer through understanding. It's
Mhm.
slow going because our show is not a 1 minute entertainment, and that's all
Right.
right because there's more to learn than
Mhm.
being just entertained about things. Like,
Yeah.
I would rather spend an hour talking about real human lives and the betterment of humanity as a whole than a
Yeah.
minute, entertaining you. We've all been entertained enough, to this point.
Yeah.
It's like enough already.
Right.
And when we keep trying to go at the same things and they're no longer entertaining us or serving us anymore, it's because our soul is craving that expansion.
Yeah.
And, I think that's where we are. I'm grateful to be in this with you, with someone of the caliber of your spirituality and who you
Well,
are and your
thank you.
healing.
You as
I love
well.
it. Thank you. Thank you. I feel like you're far more advanced in that area than me, and that's why I
I
look
don't
to
know
you
why you
for so much
said that. I don't think
inspiration.
so.
I do. I do, but it's always that way, I guess. But I really do. I gain great inspiration from often bouncing different things off of you and having you, come throw them back at me with a different twist on them, because it's just
Mm.
an opening of hearing someone else's perspective or
Right.
their experience with that, and how that just in that one moment can just change so much. So much. We tend to go far deeper into some things than we really need to. Like, the answer's here. And so,
Yeah. There's something that I wanted to talk about, and I don't know, since we brought this up, and it's not necessarily anything to do with this channel, but we're so focused on manifesting things that people are there's all these tricks and like daily manifestation things, and how much you have to push, 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 and write it down this many times. Think about it for the get a clear vision and everything. But
yep,
if we believe that the universe is working for us,
yep,
then what are we pushing for? Then we're really
right,
resisting. If we're pushing for,
right,
I want this and I have a clear vision and it's on my vision board and blah blah blah, and I'm writing it down how many times each day, whatever, and I'm all of that, and putting so much work into it, that sounds
yeah,
almost, oh, it sounds anxious. It
it
sounds almost like
is,
angst. Oh, I got to do this manifestation and I can't forget this ritual in the morning and the new moon and everything else. But if we truly believe that
yeah,
and this has just been a new sort of revelation for me, like if we truly believe that the universe is working for us and working through us to
yep,
manifest what is for us, then you're kind of resisting and you're
yep,
saying, I don't trust you,
yep,
universe or God, if that's
yep,
who you feel is working with you and for you, whatever word you want to call it. Then you're kind of resisting that, and that might be the same thing. I mean, if we want to put it in regards to transgender or LGBTQ or non-binary, any of that, you know you don't have to push so hard to push either against it or for it. Let it come.
mm-hmm,
Be open.
yeah,
Be open to let it come to you. And
yeah,
just, if you're going to be making any statements or writing things down, how about saying that I'm open to,
yes,
whatever is right and true for me,
yes,
whatever I need in this moment, I'm open to it. Bring it on,
yes, yes. Absolutely, Pamela. I'm so glad that you did bring that up, because I have really been in amongst that whole realization myself too, because for so long, we get caught up in the lists and the boards, and we hear the success stories, but then you've got a whole community of human beings, a lot in the recovery community, especially, that are doing these things, and then they say, but this doesn't work, and once again they come back to what's wrong with me. But just as
Yeah.
I came to the no, that core vibration is what's calling it out, not your lists and not your boards
Yeah.
and not your visualizations. Like Pam said, when you're so focused on manifesting, 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 you're more aligned with the not having that
Right.
thing, that person, that whatever. And we forget, like you said, we're so focused on things
Mhm.
and jobs and all that type of fulfillment that we
Mhm.
forget to manifest the best human that we can possibly be.
Right.
I was so and still am so proud of this, young friend, family, call him a little brother of mine, who's just innocently going to serve a sentence.
Mhm.
And not to say that he didn't go through moments of why is this happening, why me, or the down part.
Sure.
That's human nature.
Yeah.
But to know that he is still in his vibration, that okay, obviously this is supposed to happen, because it's
Mhm.
so ludicrous that it's happening,
Yeah.
that you almost have to say, here's something for you, man.
Right.
You know?
And that seems to be always the case when it's something like, "Oh my gosh, this is so crazy." There has to be some bigger reason because
There
this
has to
is
be.
crazy. You couldn't make this up. Yeah.
Right. Right. And
Yeah.
becoming aware, like Martin John, taught teaches in that workshop, really becoming aware of that common theme story will explain so much of what you are
Mhm.
truly continuously manifesting. Not what you're trying to manifest, but the
Mhm.
same scenarios that you continuously manifest, they
Yes.
all have this common theme.
Yeah.
And to discover that is to discover a way to change that core vibration. And then you don't really have to make those lists.
Right.
And like you said, if you are trusting, like we're open to trust at this point, then you have to trust that everything that comes along your path is your avenue
Right.
to that place you want to go.
It's
We
all
look at it
stepping
and we go,
stones. It's the
yeah,
path, and yeah.
yeah.
And
We
some of
look
these
at it and
stepping
go,
stones are gonna be
wow,
wobbly, but then you're
right,
going on to the next one. Yeah.
right. And some of them may just throw you straight off into the creek,
Yeah.
but
Well, and then you needed
get
that.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, you needed a dip. And so, yeah,
A
it's
cleansing.
like that's true. Oh, that
Oops, fell in
reminds
the
me of
lake.
another. That's like a Tommy Chong, that's like
Oh
a
my
Tommy
gosh.
Chong is a Chongism right there. For cleanliness, you needed a cleanliness, you
Oh,
needed a
that was an
bath.
amazing podcast you guys did. That was so
Was it?
awesome. And if you guys didn't see anybody out there listening to us now or later, if you didn't see that, go watch it on
Yeah.
Walk a Mile in My Shoes official, right? Is what it's
Yep,
called because there's
the
other
official
Walk a
Walk a
Mile in My
Mile in My
Shoes, but
Shoes.
it's
Yeah, there's a
official. Yeah.
bunch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's
that's
with
on
Eric,
YouTube.
Eric McCoy, and you,
Yep,
and
yep,
they had Tommy Chong on, and it was
we
very
did.
surprising to me.
Right.
The person that he is, really amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was an
I
amazing.
told it, it was, and thank you so much for supporting that and bringing that up. Because really, I told Eric, I said, Eric, can you believe that? Like,
Yeah,
how could we have ever guessed that Tommy Chong would be our spiritual guru while we're
I
clean and
know.
sober, man?
I
Like
know.
this is where we say the universe, God's got jokes, man, because this is awesome. I
Yeah, it was
really did.
almost kind of a like
It
almost like,
was.
should we have on Tommy Chong just because we can get him because he's known for this certain thing, but then he really has
Right?
such an amazing message
Oh my
that
gosh.
yeah, just really
And
just yeah,
his
pleasantly unexpected.
case, it was. His case was one of those ridiculousness,
Right.
like, "This is really happening? Like, how is this even legal? And
Right.
how is it," because I remember him saying, "I they couldn't send me to jail for this, like, I just never in a million years thought that
Right.
they would win this case, it was so
Yeah.
illegal." But to be able to have a podcast that was meant to go one way, and really he just spent and you guys, that edited version was an hour and a half. We spent nearly 3 hours just listening to Tommy Chongisms, I've called
I
him.
have to say too that the looks, watching you guys, just listening to him, because he's a good talker too, and watching you guys, knowing you both the way I do, listening to him was just as great for me
That's all.
as it was listening to him. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
It
I
was
just
it was amazing.
it
It
was
was
that was
amazing.
great.
Yeah,
Oh
for
gosh,
a man 83 years old to
I
still
know.
be planning and
I
dreaming
know.
and
He's got so much
visioning.
dreams ahead of him,
Oh,
and that's
it's
yeah,
so beautiful. It's so beautiful. I mean, and
it is.
one time Eric, had went to get his wife, and I
Mhm.
said to Tommy, I said, "I have learned so much about life from you
Just
today,"
yeah,
and
just
and he said, find the humor in everything."
yeah,
And it just reminded me to that's purposeful in all of
yeah,
our lives, regardless of who we are, to learn to be able to laugh about some of the things. I mean, if you can laugh about a colostomy bag,
right.
you got something,
And of course,
truly
my
blessed
mind
in
was doing
your
this medical stuff when he was talking about that. It's like you have to have a schedule. You can't just sort of wing it while you're learning. You would have avoided some of those issues if you had this. I know all about that, maybe more than he does because I took care of so much of that.
I love that you're like, "You gotta have a schedule." I love
You can't
that.
just
Oh, when he said, "By the time you smell it, it's too late." Oh, I was
yeah,
just
well, that's
rolling.
when you keep ahead of that issue.
Oh gosh, that is so great. That
Yeah.
is so great. I'm really blessed, man, to have such amazing people in my awareness. And this is one of those manifestation things. You know what? When you're ready for it and when you
Mhm.
are, because I kept asking for, I kept praying and intending to find, real good friends that
Oh,
were
I know.
of this new me, because I had all my
Right,
using friends and people I've known, but I wanted to make some friends that were going in the same direction. And I
right. That
kept
felt like equals. Yeah, me too.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I just
yeah.
kept getting these people that were wanting to use me to do theirs. It was
Their
really
thing, yeah.
strange. They weren't bad people, but they
Right,
weren't what I was ordering up. They may
right,
have looked like
right,
it, but
right.
they weren't what I was really talking about,
Yeah,
and it showed me that, your vibe attracts your tribe, so somewhere in
right.
there, I was vibrating that way, so I had to
Yeah,
clean that vibration up, and you may have to be
right.
alone for a little while, but as
Yeah,
you do
while
that
those things are mixing up,
yeah,
yeah, or
and
churning.
then yes, and another
Yeah,
Chongism, is make utilizing your time, utilizing that time to clean your vibration up for whatever it
yeah.
is you're asking for, intending,
Mhm.
and when it's time, those people, those friends, your vibe will attract,
Yeah.
your tribe, and I'm blessed, man. I'm really blessed,
When
and
you
I know
look
it.
at what's going on around you in your life, around you, then that's a really good indication of what's going on inside of you. And so
Yeah.
if things are not going right and everything keeps happening strangely or out of the ordinary or what you perceive to not be so good, that's when you go inside and you say, what is going on within me? Rather than saying, I need to write down this and this and this and this to change this and go do all these manifestations. It doesn't mean not to focus on, like we were talking about, focusing on like-minded friends, or maybe not
Yeah.
even like-minded, because it's good to have friends that
Right.
are, of different mindset.
Like
But
vibing.
yeah, yeah, so of the same vibe and of the same heart, and the same
Yeah.
soul. It's good to focus on those things that are positive, but it doesn't mean you have to try so hard to manifest these things. but
Yes.
um but look around you, and then that's where you can see, just like, like we were talking about. I just lost that train of thought, what we were talking about with that. But yeah, but yeah, look around you, and that's how you know what's going on
Yeah.
within you.
Yeah. And can't be afraid. I think that's the thing. Like, you can't be afraid to ask yourself,
Yeah.
what part am I playing in this?
hmm or
How,
what am I
what's,
resisting?
yes, yes, what's the core story here?
Yeah.
What is what is that
Right.
common theme that
What am I
continues to
resisting
happen?
and why? I think of
Yeah.
nursing with that. I was, the reason is because I was making pretty good money with nursing, but it was just, sucking my soul. It was just not
Mm,
me, for so many reasons of it just was not vibing right with me. And I kept getting in these, it got to be funny. I kept getting in these situations and getting these jobs and these different patients and bosses and just all these different things. It was like, are you kidding me? Really? Like, this isn't working out either. So why is this happening? What else I'm not supposed to be here, because it's just like roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. It's like, this is going to be, detrimental. This is going to be detrimental. This is going to be a bad situation. It's like, really, again, again, again. So yeah.
yeah, and that makes me think about, how eager sometimes we're sitting around going, "Why isn't this happening for
Yeah.
me?" And yet, when like what's meant for you will
Mhm.
always find you when
Mhm.
you're ready for it. So,
Right. And
you
you
can
have to
be
be
ready
ready
to
to
jump
sit back
out.
and say,
You
you
have
know,
to.
to
Yeah.
stop that resistance,
Yes,
to be
for
open
sure.
to whatever it is. You don't
For
always have to
sure.
know what it is. And I think that's
Absolutely.
part of the problem with manifesting things, is like, whether it's things or whether it's something in your life changing, but you don't have to always be so clear. It's like, whatever is right and true and best for me, you
Mm,
know.
I love that. So does Ken Casey have a book that recalibrate the psychic compass? I would love to see that.
Oh, see, I
Is that
wasn't even looking at the chat.
is that something that I can look up? Because
I'm sure.
that sounds something like my stuff. I like that. 30 years ago. See, people had it 30 years ago.
Mhm.
I mean, we talk about Napoleon Hill and a lot of those guys, and I think that they were so intent
Mm.
on creating a formula that was marketable. And I think that the marketable formulas helped some, and that's great and
Mhm.
all, but it didn't help the majority. It was still the 1% that it
Yes.
was it was helping. I'm more interested in what we're talking about here in help. I believe that that is what helps the majority. To help the majority understand that not to be so caught up in the actual
Mhm.
end result, that to really be a part of the right now and to really enjoy the journey, because I know you've probably experienced this as well. But when you want something so bad, so
Yeah.
bad, so bad, so bad, and then you get to it, it's almost like the fun's over, in all honesty, because you're just like, oh, wow. I realized that the journey towards this
Oh,
held
yeah.
all the mystery, all the intrigue, all of the hope and the vision. And then now I'm here, and it's not that it's not great, but it's what's next, or it lacks what you think it will fix everything. So, you
Well,
know,
there well, look at Tommy Chong. There shouldn't be an end destination, you
right,
know? You just, as long
right.
as you're alive, you're still going. As long
Yeah,
as you're still
for
going, you
sure.
need to still be going, and not just, okay, I'm waiting now, waiting for
Right,
death, or I'm at
right.
the end of whatever. Just yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Man, I enjoy these conversations. I
Yeah.
really, really do. Like I could have these conversations all night long. I
Yeah.
mean, I when I was ready to manifest my transition, it literally came to me. The actions I had to take towards it were so minimal compared
Mhm.
to any time in the past that I had attempted to step towards it or thought
Mhm.
about it. There were just these big roadblocks.
Yeah.
And when it actually came time and s- and the universe and God, I mean, I think about the Tao that can be named is not the Tao, so it's hard for me to name. But
Mhm.
when that creator greater than me knew it was time for me, it was the
Mhm.
easiest thing to make happen in
Yeah.
every way that I needed it to be. It was
Yeah.
just like it just fell. I just barely had to push the door open and it flew
Yeah.
open. So, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever issue you've found and wherever you want to go in your life, trust and believe that when it is time for you to truly manifest
Right.
that, you can't miss it unless
Right.
you just continue to resist it
Yeah.
and
We
trust
can
the
do a
process.
whole show on that.
Oh yeah, I think we should. I think we should bring Recovery Soul Food back
Yes, I
in
was just
November.
gonna
We
say
should do one
maybe
of
on
those.
recovery soul food or have it just play on both. Yeah.
Yes. And that's right, everybody. Whoever watches Recovery Soul Food, of course, has been on hiatus while we've been kicking off the Transgender Mentor podcast and the Walk a Mile in My Shoes. But we will return the first weekend in November with some great
Mhm.
new and exciting guests. Thank you for
Yay.
um, your TikTok. I can't even think of the word right now. Damn testosterone. See, estrogen would have thought of this word. Testosterone gets hung up. But thank you for, letting me, introducing me to Eric from TikTok because he's
Mhm.
now going to be coming on in the Recovery Soul Food in November. So that's all thanks to Pamela. Um, so we got a lot of good stuff coming for Recovery Soul Food. Yeah, you
Oh, he's
got it.
coming on
Got it.
recovery soul food? Oh gosh, nice.
Yeah, the guy that you hooked me
Yeah.
up with from TikTok?
Oh, he's awesome.
Yes, he is, and I
He's
cannot
gonna make a great
wait.
guest.
Yes,
Awesome.
I got the amazing lady from Sober is the New Cool. She's coming on. I will definitely get that link to the Tommy Chong podcast. And so I'm really, really, really just looking forward to all that's happening and all that's coming
Mhm.
up with all that we're doing. We're going to have Sophie from Eric's podcast come on our show, and you and I are going to talk to her, and she's going to be on twice. Eric and I are going to talk to her. You and I are going to talk to her because I think we can get
Nice.
many different conversations. And so I'm really looking forward to where
Great
life
stuff
is and
coming
where
up.
it's going. Such great
Awesome.
stuff. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, thanks everybody so much for watching. Make sure that you
Yeah.
like and share, subscribe to our channel. We're really trying to grow this platform. Um, and we love you and we want to hear from you. Most of all, we want to hear from you. Do you have some issues? Do you have some questions? Are you a trans ally? Do you have a show that's an ally show or a
Mhm.
trans show, or you want to come on and just talk to us about your experience?
Mhm.
We want to hear from you. So go to www.transgendermentor.com and fill out the contact form there, or reach out to Pamela or myself. Our information is down in the description of this video. I will link the Tommy Chong video here in the description as soon as we're done. Um, if you haven't caught that, man, it's just an amazing video.
It
Amazing.
is.
He's an amazing man. It has nothing to do with myself or even Eric. Tommy Chong is an amazing human being. I love
Yeah.
him so much. If I could figure out a way to get him on the Transgender Mentor podcast,
How
I
to
would.
connect those dots? Yeah.
If I could figure it out, I would, because he's just that awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Pamela, this has been another awesome conversation. I
Thank
love getting to
you.
spend these hours with my friend.
Yes.
You rock, and I love you, and I thank you for all your help. You do so much for me, more than you even know. I
I'm
appreciate you
so
so
honored. Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody have an amazing week. Join me Wednesday morning, 7:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on my personal Facebook page and the Recovery Soul Food Facebook page. And we'll rock on with some recovery motivation, inspiration, and information. We love you. We'll see you next time. Bye.